Hi guys, Kosy again for sexual assault awareness. So this is the second part of a series where I'm talking about sexual assault. In the last video I talked about child sexual abuse, and in this video I'll be talking about rape. So let's get right into it. Rape. Probably the only thing we know it's a crime, but somehow still manage to blame victims for it. A lot of us agree that rape is bad and is a crime and is a very gruesome, evil or societal ill. In fact, if there's ever a hierarchy of very bad things, I know rape is going to be at the very top. So we're not about to convince ourselves that rape is bad. Instead, we're going to be looking at the rape culture in Nigeria and see if there's anything we can do to help stop this evil. As far as law goes, we have laws that address rape in Nigeria. So we have the penal code in the north, we have the criminal code in the south, and we also have the Lagos State Criminal Law and the Violation of Persons Prohibition Act of 2015. With the exception of the VAT Act 2015, let's take a look at these three other laws and kind of see how they define rape. The Penal Code, the Criminal Code, and the Lagos State Criminal Law. We kind of get that for a sexual activity to be regarded as rape, it has to be unlawful, the victim has to be a woman or a girl, and there has to be no consent. And consent cannot be given under pressure. It has to be free and very voluntary. But we know that rape is much more than that. This law specifically does not imagine or does not believe that a man or a boy can be raped. And it does not acknowledge that marital rape is rape. And we see why that is problematic. This happened a few days ago. Where this lady was tired of having sex with her husband and she ran out of the house, and the man is following her about like a he-goat, trying to drag her back into the house. At that point, there's no consent. Imagine if the man finally dragged her back inside the house to continue to have sex with her. We know that this woman has withdrawn her consent, and so anything done to her from that moment is rape. But because these laws do not acknowledge that a man can rape his wife, this woman is probably not going to get justice. Let's look at the VAT Act, which is the most progressive law that defines rape in Nigeria. When we look at the VAT Act, we see that it doesn't have to be something specific to a particular gender. So a man can be raped, a woman can be raped, a boy or girl can be raped. It says any person. So it doesn't matter your gender, which should be the true definition of rape. Because rape can happen to boys and it can happen to men as well. And we also see that it doesn't have that caveat that the other laws have. So it doesn't matter if the individuals involved are married. If there is no consent, it is rape. If consent is lacking, it is not consensual. And if it's not consensual, it is not sex. It is rape. So now that consent is like this big thing, let's look at consent in the Nigerian context. In a 2019 opinion poll survey by NRI polls, the participants were asked which of these scenarios means that consent has been given. 92% of the participants believe that it is consent when it is given by someone who is of age and who is not under the influence of drug or alcohol. But then 52% believe that someone who is underage can give consent. 39% believe that consent can be given by someone who is intoxicated, and another 39% believe that once consent is given, it cannot be withdrawn. And 32% believe that consent can be given under pressure. Now, if this statistics is anything to go by, we have a serious problem here. Because a lot of us know that rape is a crime and in fact it's not good. But if we don't know all of these things about consent, then our knowledge is quite limited and we can excuse some acts that are actually rape as not rape. And this brings me to the things we mistake for consent in Nigeria. And they come to your house. That is not consent. Someone is simply telling us that they want to come to our house. That doesn't mean they want us to do anything to them. Flirting. Like someone can flirt with you without without wanting to take it any further, or past sexual history. Like, it doesn't matter if the person is a virgin, if they've had sex 100 times, because people eat rice, but it doesn't mean that you want to eat rice every day or every time someone offers you rice. Sometimes people say, oh, they've been having sex, so they're just pretending that they don't want to have it. We like rice. Does it mean anytime someone offers us rice, we are going to eat it? Like, I love yam, but it doesn't mean I'm always in the mood to eat yam. Some days I'm not in the mood, or just don't want to. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they say that rape can only apply if the person is a virgin. Like, do we see what is wrong with that narrative? So, because someone is no longer a virgin, whoever comes to them, they should just have sex with them. Also, the notion that it is not rape if they are married is also wrong, especially given the fact that Nigeria has the highest number of childbirths in Africa. And some of these children have already been forced into the marriage. So it makes sense if they don't want to consummate the marriage. And so if their husbands have unconsensual sex with them, there is no way for the harm to be addressed, simply because it falls out of what we define as rape. Now, what does consent look like? Consent is clear. We don't assume that someone has given us consent because they are silent, or because they are not resisting or shouting or kicking. We don't think someone has given us consent because of the way they are talking to us, or because they are flirting with us, or because they are dressed indecently. In the way we have defined indecent to be, consent is coherent in the sense that someone who is sleeping or someone who is under the influence cannot give consent. When consent is given freely and voluntarily, it is not given under pressure. We don't blackmail consent out of someone. Consent is ongoing and specific. It is ongoing in the sense that it is an ongoing conversation, and it can stop at any time, and sexual activity has to stop. It doesn't matter if you're almost there. Once consent is withdrawn, sexual activity has to stop, irrespective of wherever you are. It is specific because it is given for each specific act. So consent for this act doesn't mean consent for another act. And also tying it to being ongoing, it has to be ongoing because it can be withdrawn anytime, and it is given for each specific act. So because someone agreed to do this with us doesn't mean they cannot disagree to do another thing with us. Finally, consent is informed. It is not deceiving. So the other party has to know what it entails. So for example, if two people agree to sex with protection, and in the process one party removes the protection without the consent of the other party, it is no longer consensual. Do we have a rape culture in Nigeria? It's very easy to see that we do. And what a rape culture does is it tries to blame everybody for the rape apart from the perpetrator. And to see an example, that same survey that I cited before also asked participants what they think are the causes of rape in Nigeria. And these are some of the reasons they gave. 47% of them believe that rape is caused by indecent dressing. And 36% believe it is caused by excessive alcohol by the perpetrator, while 34% believe it is caused by excessive alcohol by the victim. 34% believe it is caused by promiscuity. When I saw that, I was a bit confused because I used to think that men would be more promiscuous in Nigeria until I realized that men can be promiscuous. 18% believe it is caused by flirting, and another 18% believe it's caused by poverty. There are also other causes there, but we know that that list is by no means exhaustive because the devil is not there yet. A question I've always asked is, if rape is caused by indecent dressing, how come children are more victims of sexual assault than adults? And this is what research has shown. So, do children also dress indecently? Do they also take alcohol? Do they also flirt? When we look at these reasons we tend to give, we see just how much we blame victims for rape. Victim blaming is one of the many ways we have tried to silence victims of rape. When we ask them questions like, what were you wearing? What were you doing in their house in the first place? If you're still asking about what they were wearing, it would interest you to know that the University of Kansas in the USA in 2014 had a "What Were You Wearing" exhibition, which displayed clothes that victims of sexual violence were wearing when the violence happened to them. Other universities have taken from that and now also opening up their "What Were You Wearing" exhibition. So next time when someone asks what were they wearing were wearing regular clothes, work clothes, soldier uniforms. How sexy can it be? How revealing can a soldier uniform be? I can't wait to see our own "What Were You Wearing" campaign. We have a lot to do. We can stop perpetuating the rape culture, and we do this all the time. We do it when we make rape jokes, when we laugh at rape jokes and support people who make them, when we make rape threats or support people who make rape threats, when we don't understand consent or think that consent has to involve a lot of kicking and shouting. There is absolutely nothing funny about rape jokes. In fact, there is no such thing as a rape joke. And there is nothing funny about making a joke out of something as sensitive as rape. But if we still find rape jokes funny, then maybe we need to check our level of insensitivity. And yeah, I know some people are going to say, oh, but we also make jokes of other crimes that happen and no one complains. Yes, but rape is personal. It is physical, it is emotional, psychological, mental. And these people are suffering on different phases and they don't find it funny. That's how we know if rape jokes are funny or not. And so we could stop making rape jokes, stop laughing with our friends, make it and point out to them that it is not good. Imagine if a comedian comes on stage and the only thing they have to make are rape jokes and no one is laughing. They are going to go back to the drawing board. What about rape threats? It's like when we want to make people suffer, we threaten to rape their women and their girls. Rape threats, whether it is intended or not intended, is wrong. We saw how the son of a governor in Nigeria threatened to pass on someone's mother to his friends, and people were defending him on social media. I mean, saying that all is fair in the game of love and war. He may probably not want to actually pass someone's mother, but the fact that he thinks that he could do something like that is problematic. If we think it's okay for someone to make rape threats to people even if they do not carry it out, then we are also probably not going to find something wrong with this video.
Right, to go to anybody's house and remove wire that will kill a boy. My boy was killed along the line. People, they call themselves non-entity NEPA, that is videoing. You should video yourself, oh, but people are videoing you now. Bang, go ahead. No, just go release wire for me now. I want to rape her. I want to rape her. She understand. Just tell them I am raping. I am raping. I want to collect my wire. I'm raping her. Do that too.
Where a man threatened to rape a PSCN staff. And also this video.
What if people they don't buy job? Una kiss Ojaba, your mother. I will make sure I fuck your mother skin to skin. I will fuck her skin to skin, no condom. I will make sure she carry HIV. Your daughters will carry HIV. Your wives will carry HIV. You get mine, ba? You kiss Ojaba, that will bank you. That will bank her.
Where soldiers were threatening to rape people in Warri, every threat of rape is bad and is wrong. And as a society, we should not condone. Another way we could also help is by being an active bystander. So apart from not making rape jokes and threats and even not supporting people that do that, we could also call people out when they do it. And calling out and calling in our friends, whichever one we feel is more effective when they tend to fall back on what sadly is the norm. I'm sure a lot of our friends agree that rape is a crime and that it is not good. But it is also important to know these other things. And we need to have the consent talk. No means no. But unfortunately, a lot of us think that no means convince me. But it does not. And remember, if we ever get to a court of law, we are not going to be asked what we think. We are going to be asked what we heard, and that is no. And we should also respect people enough to know that they know what they want, and they know whether they want to have sex or not. So when someone tells us that they don't want to have sex, we shouldn't try to convince them. And we should not also turn to blackmail or to remind them of one favor we did for them in the past, when someone says no, we should respect their no. We will not consent because it is clear, it is coherent, it is given voluntarily, it is not forced or coerced. A pressured consent is not consent. So consent can be withdrawn anytime and sexual activity has to stop. And consent today does not mean consent tomorrow. So we went back to answer the question on consent that was asked earlier. And consent can only be given by someone who is of sound mind and someone who is of age. So an underage person cannot give consent. It is not consent when the person is intoxicated or under pressure. And consent can be withdrawn anytime and sexual activity has to stop. Another thing we can do is to work to end stigmatization against rape victims. When we think that it is some fault of theirs, these are ways we tell the victim that you shouldn't even talk about this thing, it is your fault, you caused it. And just so we know our level of stigmatization in matters of rape in Nigeria, in that same study, the participants were asked why the rape case they know was not reported to the police. And 46% of them said for fear of stigmatization. Other reasons are the victim family was asked to not report or chose to not report, and then fear of being blamed. So we went back to also answer the question, what are the causes of rape in Nigeria? And this is the answer. Rape is caused by the rapist. In our culture, we have somehow managed to exempt the rapist from receiving any sort of blame. Instead, we say that they were drunk or that they are unemployed or whatever. But the main cause of rape is the rapist. We also know who to blame for rape. We don't blame the victim. It is not the devil's handbook. It is the rapist's handbook. And the earlier we come to this realization, the better we can all work to stop perpetuating the rape culture. If you've been a victim of rape, or you know someone who is, or your loved one is, there are resources for you. Some organizations offer support for victims of rape. They give counseling, and some of them also offer legal and medical services. I'm going to leave the details in the description box. We can also support rape victims by just being there for them, not blaming them, and also helping them to report the case. The government can help us by revisiting these laws that have a very narrow definition of rape. First and foremost, recognizing that men and boys can be victims of rape, and also acknowledging that marital rape is rape. And it's not just about putting these laws in place, also creating an environment where people can freely take their matters to the police and have trust in the system. I hope that we can begin to make these reflections and think of ways that we've helped to perpetuate the rape culture in Nigeria. Thank you for staying with me up to this point. We're all learning. I would like to know what you think in the comment section. Thank you, and I'll see you next week in my next video.